last week, the president encouraged me via Truth Social and also via phone call to be more aggressive. And I was like, okay, I do what the president asks. And I said, can we send out an email to everyone just saying, what did you get done last week? And the president said yes.
Welcome back. That's the very recognizable Elon Musk earlier this week in the cabinet room of the White House at the president's first cabinet meeting. A new report from Wired finds that Doge, the Department of Government Efficiency, will be intensifying its efforts to overhaul the federal government. That's putting it mildly. It says this in part, quote, "What is happening to the U.S. government right now is bad. What comes next is worse." Brian Barrett joins us now. He's the executive editor of news at Wired. Brian, why that emphatic conclusion? It's already bad and it's going to get worse. How do you reach that conclusion?
Well, I think there's a couple of things going on here. I think first, Doge, it has so little transparency that it's hard to tell what's really going on. It's hard to get a full picture of what is happening, how many cuts there are from which agencies. So the worst part comes in as you suddenly start to realize the cumulative effect of these cuts. But I think the more important thing is, already Doge has fired thousands of federal workers. They've canceled thousands of government contracts. They plan to fire many, many, many more. Each of those government workers does something. Each of those federal contracts serves some purpose. So as those people are no longer there doing the thing they are supposed to do, and those contracts are no longer, and programs are no longer serving the needs that they're intended to, you're going to feel the real impacts of this. So right now you've got people being fired, which is bad. But the ripple effects of that, the missing programs, the missing workers, if you gut the Social Security Administration, who's going to be sending out the checks? I think these are real questions that we're going to get the answers to sooner rather than later, and they're going to be hard answers.
And do you think that's going to be evident to Americans 3 or 4 months down the road in the interactions that they have casually with the federal government, either with the IRS, the Social Security Administration, the Forest Service, some other part of it? They're going to ask or send in an email or interact and find either less service or no one answering at all. Is that your assessment?
I think I would just put it in terms of weeks rather than months. I think because these are all things that are happening right now. Just as a small example, the federal government has capped all of the credit cards that are the equivalent of corporate cards that government employees use to travel or to take care of daily expenses. Now they can only charge $1 to that card, so basically they've all been frozen out. So people can't get to places they need to go to do their jobs already. People can't buy the equipment that they need, even people who are still in their roles, to do their jobs. I think we're going to see that on a little level here and there, things already starting to break. And then you worry about the bigger things that are going to break. You worry about a bird flu that is getting worse. And Doge already accidentally fired a bunch of people who were working to prevent bird flu. I hope they all come back. They're under no obligation to. I'm not sure why they would want to work for this administration. So from little things to big things, I think we're going to see a degradation of services, of programs that are really going to be felt everywhere in America and around the world.
And Brian, Wired has been very aggressive in this particular aspect of reporting on the Department of Government Efficiency, conflict of interest with those assigned by Doge to get into these agencies. Be as general or as specific as you want about that particular level of reportage at Wired.
I think that issue feels really, speaks to a lot of the bigger issues around the Doge project, which is what are they really trying to accomplish here? It can't be efficiency, because there's nothing efficient about firing a bunch of people and having no plans to replace them or pick up the slack when they're gone. That's not efficient. That sort of grinds things down even further. When we look at the conflicts of interest that we are talking about, we try to look back for historical precedent for example, Tom Krause, who is currently in a high-ranking position at the Treasury Department, while he's also, his day job, he is the CEO of a cloud computing company. And drawing a salary there and working both places. We tried to look for a precedent for when that would happen. We had to go back to World War I, World War II for any time that someone actually had those dual roles for a consistent amount of time. There are precedents for this, but you have to go back a long way, and frankly, it didn't work out too well that time. I want to be clear, we haven't found any indications of any untoward activity, but just the fact of it, the apparent disregard for how obvious these conflicts of interest are is concerning.
What about data security? There has been tremendous reportage about how much access, write-in, read-in or scraping could be going on through Doge in these vast government databases?
And this gets back to the transparency issue. We know that Doge is demanding access to the Treasury payment system, Department of Education, you name it. Wherever they've been, they want this information. We don't know what they're doing with it. We don't know where it's going. There have been some reports that they have fed it into an unnamed AI model to do who knows what. And of course, one thing that we're concerned about is that when you feed something into an AI model, it then becomes training data and gets put into the model and can be used for other things. The US government has more sensitive data about US citizens than anything else, anyone else in the world, by an order of magnitude. And the idea that these people who, as far as we know, have not been through a strict vetting process, and as we do for sure know, sometimes are working in the very industries that are regulated by the agencies that they are in, is again, it sort of boggles the mind that this is being allowed to happen unfettered and that there's no seeming accountability, transparency, or auditing that's going on as part of this.
Brian, I'm going to give you about 45 seconds for this one. Assess how accurate Doge has been about its receipts of savings.
Not very. I think there's great reporting out there that shows that they've had some high-profile misses. They once said they saved $8 billion a program when it was actually $8 million. They recently had to remove their 5 biggest tallied savings from their Doge savings tracker because they turned out to be incorrect. They have a number on there that's $65 billion. I don't know how accurate it is based on the inaccuracies they've had before. And more importantly, that's a drop in the bucket compared to the $4 trillion budget that Congress is going to pass.
And Brian, is it your sense that when this is all in the rear view, Doge will have cost the federal government more money or save the federal government more money?
I think it depends on how you think of it. I think it's important not to lose sight of the opportunity cost. Doge might save money by firing federal workers, but if we are less prepared to handle a pandemic, if we are less able to prevent people from getting sick or contain a measles outbreak, there are real costs there, both in terms of human life, but also in terms of the money that we will have to spend to take care of things in the back end. In the same reason that you want to spend more on preventative measures than you do on sort of fixing the problem afterwards. That's what we're looking at.
Brian Barrett with Wired, thank you very much.